No, it's been a while since I've done one of these guys, but I'm finally back and I'm ready to show you my Angel Feather deck profile featuring Arch-aiderMalkuth-melekh.
Welcome to Earth. Malkuth Melekh.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the KP Kingdom channel. Today I'm showing you guys, like I said before, my Arch-aiderMalkuth-melekh deck profile and some of the recent changes I made with it with the introduction of the newest set, Majesty Lord Blaster. Now, with the introduction of Majesty Lord Blaster, after doing some playtesting against it and seeing how it works out in the English meta, and looking at some Japanese ideas on the deck, I've come to the best conclusion that this is the best deck that fits my play style and how I want to play Arch-aiderMalkuth-melekh. First, we start off with 4 copies of Arch-aiderMalkuth-melekh. This card is amazing. I didn't know how powerful it was until I actually got in and started playing with it. So for those of you that do not know, Arch-aiderMalkuth-melekh's specialty allows him to Soul Blast 1 and choose 3 of your Angel Feather units and bring them back from the drop zone and give them power to the front row. Then you deal yourself a damage. And then he has different abilities depending on if you go first or second that allow you to heal a damage or deal a damage to your opponent. So depending on the tempo of the game, this card will allow you to consistently bring back your board. So naturally, healing damage and guarding with specific units, you don't have to worry about it because it lets you call them back later. This way you can focus on controlling your hand size and your damage zone by healing specific cards out and getting them back. And with some of the units that we play with the deck, allowing ourselves to take more damage so that we have access to skills, or that we can activate skills depending on if we give our opponent cards in their damage zone, is just very helpful in activating everything that we have to do. So Malkuth Melekh is really powerful because he allows you to control the tempo of the game and if you go first or second. And depending on which way you go, you can control how you want to be aggressive and if you want to be defensive later. I play 4 copies of Crimson Impact Metatron. So originally I did not like this card only because it didn't have a first ride effect. So going into this card, it felt like I couldn't do anything and I was looking for other grade 3s that I wanted to play, and I wanted to play Zerakiel, but you know, 3000 power to the front row just seems very like underwhelming considering a lot of the first rides that a lot of cards can do now in standard. And Metatron's ability to just simply deal yourself a damage by healing a card, well, not really healing a card, but by dealing yourself a damage by putting a card back in the deck, just felt mediocre to me. So it was between Zerakiel, Ergodiel, or her. And the problem with Ergodiel is the fact that Ergodiel only works on place, and there have been times where I was playing Ergodiel where I had to put my own units in the damage zone because I wanted that critical. So in the end, I just chose Metatron simply because she can be a good second ride if we need to slow the game down because we took too much damage too early, or we just don't have that many resources to get. Next, I played 2 copies of Perdurable Phoenix. So originally I wasn't going to play this card, but I actually saw this card really popular on some Japanese decklist ideas, and then I was wondering why. And then I honestly got the idea of just playing this card in a different fight. When I was testing out Malkuth Melekh, I was originally playing 4 of him and then 2 copies of this card. And this card is actually really powerful. It allows you to take stuff out of your damage zone so they can go back in your drop zone later so you can use Malkuth Melekh's ability. And this card, 9 times out of 10, usually becomes a selected retire target. And if you're playing against decks that, you know, need that retire, like Blade Master obviously gives this deck a hard time because you consistently have to use Malkuth Melekh to get your board back. But with this card specifically, you can always bring it back since it retires itself, and you can use Malkuth Melekh to bring this card back. Or you can just play it as a rear guard, and then later in the game you can use this to protect yourself. But overall, this was just a really good grade 3 to have. I was gonna play the Mobile Hospital, but there have been times the deck ideas I've done that I play tested with, I just couldn't get the soul to where the point where even if I could use the Mobile Hospital, it didn't matter. So I just chose this grade 3. Moving on to our grade 2, Ampoule Diffuser. So this was another card that I got the idea off of some Japanese decklist ideas, and I didn't realize how powerful this card was, and I was surprised that many English players aren't playing this. But for those of you who do not know, it's an Angel Feather promo, and it has the ability where when it attacks, depending on how many cards your opponent has faced with the damage zone, you can either get 5,000 power or you can get 15,000 power, and no, it doesn't stack, so you can't get 20,000 power max off this card. But basically what this card does, and the purpose of it is, it's just a big beat stick that you can go up against your opponent, because this card alone can become 24k, so if you're playing against other Protect and Excel decks, then it gives them a hard time. And if you have this card in Protect 2, it becomes 29, so you're over that 28k limit for the Force decks. So this card overall is just really powerful in the fact that even with one damage that your opponent has, this card alone can just become a huge beat stick, and that's what we need because, you know, with the way that the game is right now, we want to obviously kill our opponents as fast as possible, and Angel Feather doesn't have too many like high powered units, so this card being one of those units that can get a lot of power for really cheap is just really good to have. Our next grade 2 is 4 copies of Air-Roid Zion. One of the most amazing cards of the deck. Air-Roid Zion's ability allows you to control the board, it's board control, but in a unique style only to Angel Feather, as you use his ability to place a card in your opponent's damage zone, and with him you can now activate the effects of your other units that gain abilities when a card enters your opponent's damage zone. And then he stacks 10,000 power whenever you do it, and the power is on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, so if you choose to play this as your Vanguard and Soul Blast out later from Malkuth Melekh, you now have a Vanguard that can help you rush early, and with a card like Ampoule Diffuser, you can combine these two together to create more aggressive attacks. For my last grade 2, I play 3 copies of Rear Impedus Celestial Armiteam. So while going through the Angel Feather's cards, I noticed that there weren't too many cards in Angel Feather that actually superior called from the damage zone. A lot of cards add, but there weren't too many of those cards that I wanted to play. But with Rear Impedus Celestial Armiteam, you can go second and Soul Blast something out to fill up your drop zone later for Malkuth Melekh, and then call something from your damage zone. So this card made getting rushed down or beat down by your opponent if you're going first or second not as bad, because I can call those units out and rush my opponent back, because this card alone, along with another grade 1 that we play in the deck, can just build up a whole front row or just start setting up your board for later plays. So Armighty was helpful as it lets me control my damage zone by calling cards out and introducing new cards into my damage zone. Moving on to grade 1s, we play 2 copies of Syringe Lesser. So this card is honestly more of a personal tech. There's a lot of other cards that you can play, but I play this card simply because 1, it's 7k, and 2, it has the ability to put itself into Soul. And I noticed with Malkuth Melekh, with the way that the deck works and some of the other cards we play in there, I don't have too many cards. I actually don't have any cards at all, I think, that Soul charge into the deck. So I needed something that was going to help me rebuild Soul other than just constantly rewriting, if I can rewrite. But with Syringe Lesser, it's a 7k unit that puts itself into Soul and another Angel Feather promo and gives 2 units 5,000 power. So this skill isn't great. It's not the most amazing skill, overwhelming, but it's great in the sense that 1, it's 7k, so if you ride it, you can damage out your opponent. 2, 5,000 power may not seem like a lot, but since our units are already getting so much power just from Malkuth Melekh alone and their own abilities, adding 5,000 power helps you get over those force numbers. And again, this is like a very force heavy meta right now, with Majesty Lord Blaster, Chrono Jet still running around. You now have Luard's going to be coming out soon, and then this just helps put more pressure on those other Excel and Protect decks. And you have, there's Arroid Vampire, there's Night Rose. There's a lot of decks that right now can, build up a big hand or a great defense, and having more power to constantly combat that, along with the damage with putting triggers in your damage zone, is just very helpful to the strategy. Moving on to my next grade 1, I played 2 copies of Air-Roid Midio. So when I got this card, originally I thought it was I did not like it this one much either, because its Sentinel blocking ability only activates if you have a grade 3 in Soul, meaning if you don't have a grade 3 in Soul, obviously this just becomes another 13k beat stick, and I already have another grade 1 in the deck that I'll show you later that pretty much does the same. But with the way that the game is now, considering that Night Rose, Arroid Vampire, they're the best decks right now. Having this card to stop other Protect decks from using their Sentinels takes a card out from their hand is the way that I see it. And even though it retires itself because of Malkuth Melekh, I can call this back later. So even though I may not have used the card earlier in the game, it makes itself very great later in the game, because whenever you take a Sentinel out your opponent's hand, you're taking out their best defensive option, and you're preventing your opponent from, you know, guarding the way that they want to, because now they have to think about this card and if you may or may not use it. So Air-Roid Midio, I dropped it down to 2 because I feel like only 2 is necessary. You can drop this down to 1. Same thing with Syringe Lesser. Again, these are tech options. You can drop them down to 1 for other cards that will give you more card advantage. For my next grade 1, I play 4 copies of Medical Angel. So this card is amazing. This is the main card that you're going to play in the deck that'll give you your card advantage. With the ability to draw 2 and then ditch 1, helps you set up your Malkuth Melekh and recycle through your deck more, so that you can go find more cards that you need or get more pieces, so that you can have a more aggressive strategy later. You can drop this card numbers down to ratios in this deck. That's the main thing I like about Malkuth Melekh, is just how many ratios you can have in the deck, and that how much it lets you, and how versatile it is because of Malkuth Melekh's ability. Helpful intended, I actually have a love-hate relationship with this card. This card essentially is your best first turn ride. However, my only issue with it is the fact that it does not work well with Armity, as sometimes you can use up all of your soul just to get 2 units, or otherwise there are games where I have to choose if I want to use this ability or not, because if the card calling you the damage zone is even worth it. But overall, this is a great first turn ride, helps you build board. But sometimes some cards you just can't combine it with. But if you don't pull Armity, then this is the card that you obviously want to use so you can create your board. And now for our triggers. So our trigger lineup is literally just very standard. We play 8 criticals, 4 of them being Hot Shot Celestial Samyaza, 4 critical hit Angel, 4 Battle Cupid No Seal, and then 4 copies of Sunny Smile Angel. So when building this deck and thinking about my trigger lineup, I thought about it in the sense of, okay, I want to be aggressive as possible, but I also have a card advantage issue. So when building the deck, I thought about, originally I was playing 6 crit, 6 draw, but then I realized that although I had all these cards in my hand, my attacks weren't scary because I had these draw triggers coming in, and the criticals just would I'd be either holding on to them for my defense, or either they'd be in the damage zone already used up and I had no way of cycling them back into the deck unless I played Metatron. I shuffled my deck afterwards with an ability. So I decided that the best thing that I want to do, considering the current meta of the game, is I want to be as aggressive as possible, and I need to fix my own card advantage issue, but I was going to have to do that with the main deck. So that's why I did the introduction of Medical Angel, Syringe Lesser, and that grade 2 Ampoule Diffuser, and the Phoenix. All of these cards may not seem like it, but they all fix the card advantage issue with the deck, because one has big power, the other one lets you draw cards, and the other one lets you use your damage zone for defense. So I was able to cycle through my deck faster while also being aggressive with my trigger lineup. So 4 heal, 4 draw, Sentinel draw, and 8 crit. Again, the deck is very versatile, so you can mix it up with the triggers, but that's just what fit me best. And then for our starter, we play 1 copy of Air-Roid Rush. And I got the new one from the festival collection, so that this way I don't have to deal with rulings or tournaments that people telling me to do. Overall, with this deck, I enjoyed a lot. I think it's a very versatile deck. You can honestly build this deck a bunch of different ways. I've seen some decks, you know, in Japan and English that only play Malkuth Melekh. I've seen some decks that play Zeracule in the grade 3 unit, just so you can keep stacking Protect 2s. I will be doing another video showing a variant of the deck right now in the meta with the Protect 2 variant. I want to say that with this deck, I mainly go Protect 1 because of the way that the meta game is and how it's shifting. I mainly go Protect 1 with this deck because Protect 2, while it is powerful, in my opinion, unless you're going first and you already have and you're already getting mad resources and you're just getting mad attacks through already, it's underwhelming, because if your opponent goes first and they're playing a force deck and they can hit you like extremely hard, then you don't have much to fall back on. And remember, the moment that you enter grade 3 and you're at 5 damage and you don't have 2 counterblasts available, and you can't use Malkuth Melekh's ability, then Malkuth Melekh becomes useless. Or there are times right now, only because we don't have our grade 3 searcher, that if you don't find Malkuth Melekh, even with the Malkuth Melekh searcher, you have to G-assist, and G-assisting does hurt the deck a lot. Even if you are going second, you just give up your quick shield. Again, it's all about card advantage and just how well can you recover. And the good thing about this deck is that with Protect 1, this deck can recover very well, especially because with the introduction of units like Healthful Intendant and Armity, we can control our board and use our board even for defense, just call Malkuth Melekh to bring our units back. Protect 2 is just a completely different mindset and mentality that I just feel like right now, me personally, I just cannot play, so that's why I choose Protect 1 for this deck. That is all for this deck profile, guys. Thank you for staying with me so much. I enjoyed your patience. I have a lot more deck profiles coming up soon. Don't forget to like, comment, and please subscribe to my channel. I know you're going to watch a few more of my videos, so go ahead and just hit that subscribe button. Also, if your friend's thinking about building Malkuth Melekh, don't forget to share this deck profile and show your opponent some idea of how they can build this. I will see you soon.